so can you tell us a little bit about how did you first get involved with this film?
Yeah, so my agent sent me the script, and I'd heard a little bit about Jennifer Reeder, the director, and seen some of her short films, and just thought her stuff was really interesting, and I read it, and I was like, what the hell is this? But I had seen some of her work, and I just thought there was just something really compelling about it, and really sort of like left of center and bizarre, but really truthful at the same time. And so I just, I went for it. And not to mention that being given the gift of a really sort of complex, ambivalent female character was like too good to pass up, basically.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how it started.
And so I think to me, one of the exciting things is she lets her actors just go really big, and I feel like, most of the time you're kind of like trying to, for film you want to be a little bit smaller, but you really got to go for this. So how did you guys discuss the actual playing of the role?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that's interesting about this film is that it's cast out of Chicago. Any Chicago people in here? Woo! Yeah, we got one. Chicago's a theater town, and there's a lot of film and TV there, but I think Jennifer took advantage of the pool of actors in terms of knowing that, like, yeah, there's a lot of people who can pull off film and TV, but there's a lot of really sort of solid theater actors, and so when she needed things to sort of go to that next level, she sort of knew that she could push for that, and we went for that. And she was incredibly encouraging. Her vision was really specific. I think she's a really sort of like true auteur, and she sort of, there was no sort of improvising or anything like that. It was like, this is how I want the moment to go, and then, but after that, she was sort of like, let you fly, And we're sort of aware just from the nature of kind of, from the costuming to sort of seeing the coloring. Obviously you see the stuff in post, but just like the vivid sort of, there was a distinct sort of bold look. And so that in and of itself, I think, sort of like kind of tipped you off that it could be a little bit like heightened,
Yeah. So and on that note, what was the whole? Because we're seeing it on screen. It's such a sort of magical space, scene after scene. What was the atmosphere like on set?
Kind of magical. Kind of bizarre. We're out in the middle of sort of the sticks of Illinois, but there's like pink everywhere and glitter. And and again, like I said, I think Jennifer was really, when you do something like this where you read it and you're like, I don't know, but I'm just gonna go with you because I trust you and I like you. Everybody was really on board with her, I think, because she just had this really strong vision, and I don't know if she always really felt this way, but she seemed just super in control and like, this is what I want, this is my vision. So,
awesome.
Just go with it.
Yeah. So questions from the audience? Jump in.
Did it evolve? Did the vision change from just seeing it in script form, and then you said that Jennifer really knew what she wanted. Did it evolve?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that being said, it sounds like she, yes, she had a strong vision, but it wasn't a stranglehold. Like I think at one point I said a line. She goes, "Oh, you really made that work," almost sort of like in a surprising way. So I think she did sort of, once she saw that we were like, in my case specifically, once she saw that I was sort of really on board with what she was having me do, she sort of encouraged me to even go further. And I think some of that theatricality is where that comes from. Once she was like, oh wow, she's actually making these lines work. Just really like feel free to go for it. I think, for example, the scene in the car with Andy, Carolyn's boyfriend, I think she had at first sort of anticipated it being really tawdry and kind of like, but when she saw it, she sort of went like, oh, this is actually kind of beautiful in a really weird, bizarre way that these two are connecting, that they actually are connecting, even though it's in these kind of really bizarre circumstances. And so she sort of, that became like a much more intimate, almost romantic scene in a way, even though it's really about you know, I think for me it was about trying to get close to my daughter, who I couldn't find, and like the closest thing that still had just, the person that had just seen her and the person that sort of smelled like her was like what I went for. So things like that, you know, that scene sort of evolved from something that I think she thought initially was sort of awkward into something kind of, you know, something different. So.
What's next for the movie, and what are you working on now?
Yeah, so as far as I know, the movie's still on the film festival circuit. I don't want to speak for distribution plans. I don't know what that is yet, but I know they're working on it. And yeah, I think right now, you know, we were just in Tribeca last month. It's here. In fact, I think the director Jennifer is actually in Toronto at another film festival right now. It's got a couple more screenings slated, and then after that, you know, we'll see what kind of life it has theatrically, but I don't know about that plan yet. And then for myself personally, I just worked on a Netflix show called Easy that just came out, and I've been doing some stuff for that. And after that, I'm also, you know, a writer. My husband and I are producers together as well. So we have a short film we're putting out to festivals this year, and you know, just keep on trucking and hustling, I guess. Doing theater in Chicago as well.
Do you know how many days it was from when she went missing to when they actually found her?
I think it was probably, I'm trying to remember the exact amount of days. That's a really good question. I think it's something like 10 days, something like that, yeah.
Long enough to decompose, but
Yeah, you know, and I think some of that, again, is sort of fantastical license in terms of the amount of decomposition of the body and, you know, the fact that it moves around. And so, you know, I don't know exactly how much Jennifer had in mind, but again, it kind of works on this sort of like mystical scale. I think that's why even myself as the character, maybe I didn't do my homework enough, but I don't know, you know what I mean? Because it's all sort of in this like fluid, you know, timeline, I guess. So.
What was it like working with these very young, well, I don't know if they were actually teenagers, but they're obviously very young and working with them?
Yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of them are, obviously, they're not really teenagers, but they definitely read as those. I mean, we called, you know, we were the parents on set, they were the kids, really cute. It was great. I mean, it's always really exciting to work with young actors, especially a lot of them were coming out of a lot of theatrical training in Chicago and sort of like hungry to know, and it's super inspiring, actually, really nice. I mean, sometimes they're looking at you like, tell me the answers, and you're like, I don't know, kid. But they were just like so excited to be there, and I think we're learning a lot from Jennifer, and you know, Jennifer's, I mean, she's amazing with the whole cast, but especially she has this feel for teenagers, and I don't know if you guys know any of her short film work, but she's really sort of concerned with youth, particularly like youthful female experience and adolescence and sort of the trauma of like becoming a woman. And even a lot of, you know, the older characters, as you can clearly see, have not like coped with their own trauma, and in a way, like, you know, the kids are all right and the parents are kind of messed up. And in a way, that's true for the actors too. You know, we've got these older actors, they have all this baggage, and you know, they're great because they're fresh out of the gate, and there's no disappointments yet. It's just adorable. But it's invigorating. I mean, it's great to be around, and they're really talented. I'm really excited to see what they all do next.
Yeah, for sure. Question?
Yeah, on that note, I'm curious to know, did you all, it's obviously super intense emotionally and deep philosophical issues that y'all are addressing. Did you have debriefs? Did you actually discuss these issues outside of acting them? Or was it a little bit different?
Yeah, so in my particular case, I did. Yeah, so when I met with, my callback was really just coffee with her, which is lovely, and we just sort of talked about womanhood for like an hour, and adolescence, and sort of our take on like what Lisa might have been going through and why her reactions are so sort of incongruous to what you would think the typical like, where's my daughter kind of role would be, you know. And we did, and she actually like sent me material. I hadn't read Sharp Object, she sent me that book. I watched a movie called Morgan Kalar, I don't know if any of you guys have seen that Samantha Morton movie. It's an older movie, but it's great. And so she had a lot of like sort of touchstones for like complicated female characters that she wanted me to explore. And we sort of talked about like this woman's ambivalence to motherhood. And so in my particular case, I did get a lot of time with Jennifer to talk about that stuff. And so that was super helpful. I mean, I think from the beginning we sort of connected on that. She was like, oh, okay, you get it. And I was like, yeah, I get it, for better or for worse. I kind of get what this woman's doing. But yeah, so it was a process, and it was really, we had a lot of really interesting conversations.
Yeah, the film seems to have this kind of very organic feminism to it, where it's not in any way sloganeering, but it's kind of like, existing in the DNA of the script.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know, I guess it was more a comment than a question. But
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think Jennifer is a really organic sort of feminist filmmaker. I mean, she's not on a mission, but she's definitely, it's woven into the work. I mean, just when I read that script too, all of her handling of like, different relationships and it all just felt like, I don't know, it didn't feel shoehorned in. I mean, she's a really inclusive filmmaker in a way that I think comes really naturally to her. She's just super interested in a lot of people's stories, and particularly untold stories. I mean, I think we even had a moment in Berlin where some guy got up and was like, what about the men in the movie? And she was like, nope, my vagina's all over this movie, so you can just sit down. We just sort of, she was just like, I don't care what you need from it, because these are the stories that I care about telling. And so, yeah, she definitely has her I don't know how to end that sentence exactly. Anyway, I think you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, for sure. Other questions?
Yeah, speaking on that, this film talks about a lot of women's issues and womanhood and things like that, and it doesn't shy away from it. Instead, the girls are very direct and they make some great jokes. People would normally actually be ashamed if it's been shamed in our culture. So I'm curious, with your screenings, you mentioned the man that kind of stood up and said, well, what about the men? If you had any other reactions to this?
Yeah, so as far as I can tell, I was at Berlin and at Tribeca, and besides him, who, by the way, we had a lovely moderator who said, we don't need your mansplaining, I need you to sit down. And the guy was like, but yeah, I think there's a lot of questions around that at the Q&As, and it's usually Jennifer who's kind of scary to fill her shoes because she speaks so much more eloquently on the subject. But yeah, I think a lot of people are sort of asking, well, what does it mean for you when you're focusing on women like this? And again, I think Jennifer is super, super inclusive, but super interested in wanting to hear like women's takes. And I think right now that's kind of like of the moment as well, that, we sort of explored like a lot of aspects of masculinity and a lot of sort of complicated takes on it. But for women, we've sort of been, somewhat relegated to these like dimensions of ourselves. And so I think for her, something she talks a lot about is just wanting to show every facet. Like her joke is like, I love all the bad moms in this movie, But like, I think everybody knows bad moms or has maybe had one or is one, and to some extent. And like being a woman is such an evolving process, like anything. And so it's really exciting to be part of something where there's just so many facets. And I also don't think she leaves the men behind. Even like I really honestly, I felt for the jock in that movie. Rewatching it again, I thought, God, this poor guy. He's just suffering from this like toxic masculinity. He doesn't know what he likes or what women like or what he wants to be with. And the closest connection he has is like with Carolyn's mom. In a way, I feel for the guy. And then you've got Tim, who plays the unemployed clown, and I don't think she's left the men behind in any sense. But again, I think you gotta focus, and her focus is clearly on sort of exploring the different dimensions of some of these really troubled women.
Well, thank you again so much for coming out here and being with us. It's wonderful to have you here and to see the film with you, and best of luck with your own projects.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for coming, guys.